Let's talk about Taiyang Xingjun, the Taoist deity of the sun. Now, on the surface, he's all about light, warmth, and protecting us from evil. But what you probably don't know is that there's a secret history of political rebellion hidden right inside his worship. Yeah, seriously. So, let's get into it.
What if I told you that praying to the sun wasn't always just about asking for a sunny day? What if, for centuries, it was actually a secret code, a quiet act of defiance against an entire empire, hidden in plain sight? That's the incredible story we're going to unravel today.
All right, so before we get into all the secrets and conspiracies, we got to cover the basics. Let's start with the official story. Who exactly is the sun god?
Okay, so his formal title is Taiyang Xingjun, but a lot of people just call him Taiyang Gong, which basically means the sun duke. In Taoism, he's the living embodiment of yang energy, that active, bright, powerful force in the universe. To put it simply, he's a pretty big deal up in the celestial court.
A good way to think of him is like the CEO of the sun. His job description is pretty straightforward but absolutely vital. He's got to show up on time every single day, provide the light and warmth that makes all life on Earth possible, and, use his intense solar power to just blast away evil spirits and any bad vibes. He's the ultimate protector.
But this is where the story starts to get a little weird. When you actually start digging into where this all-powerful god came from, the official stories are, not quite what you'd expect for a deity of his status.
You'd think a god this important would have some grand, epic origin myth, right? But nope, the folktales about him paint a surprisingly human and kind of hilarious picture.
I mean, get this. In one version, he's basically a slacker. He and the moon goddess decide to go on strike, which throws the whole world into total chaos until the Buddha himself has to step in and tell them to get back to work. Then there's another story where he was just a regular guy who really loved to drink, which is supposedly why his face is always so red in statues. He only became a god because he did some good deeds on the side. Not exactly the majestic backstory you were picturing, right?
But as wild as those stories are, they're not the real secret. The biggest mystery about the sun god is hidden in plain sight. It's encoded directly into the way people worship him, even today.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with him being a slacker or a drunk. It all comes down to one very specific day of the year. Why, out of all 365 days in the lunar calendar, is the sun god's official birthday celebrated on the 19th day of the third month? It seems totally random, but trust me, it is the key to this entire mystery.
Just take a look at that date, March 19th. It's not a solstice, it's not an equinox, there's no obvious astronomical reason for it, so what makes this one day so special?
Well, the answer isn't in the stars, it's in the history books. Because the 19th day of the third lunar month is the exact date that the Chongzhen Emperor, the very last emperor of the Great Ming Dynasty, died as his empire collapsed around him. And believe me, that is not a coincidence. See, after the Qing dynasty took over, supporters of the old Ming dynasty couldn't openly mourn their fallen emperor. They would have been executed, so they got clever. They started this tradition of worshiping the sun god on that specific date as a form of silent protest. Why the sun god? Well, the character for sun is Ri, and the character for the Ming dynasty, Ming, is made up of the symbols for the sun and the moon. It was a brilliant, coded way to show their loyalty.
But wait, the code gets even deeper. It wasn't just the date. The offerings themselves were a secret message. Worshippers would bring these special cakes made to look like 9 pigs and 16 sheep. Sounds totally bizarre, right? But it was another incredible layer to the secret.
This is where it gets absolutely genius. The phrase for 9 pigs, 16 sheep, which is Jiuzhu Shi Liu Yang, sounds almost identical to another phrase, Jiuzhu Shi Liu Yang, and that second phrase means save Zhu, the 16th emperor. Zhu was the family name of all the Ming emperors, so the food itself was a hidden prayer, a plea to restore their fallen dynasty. Amazing.
So how does a secret political movement turn into a modern spiritual practice? Well, today, that hidden history has mostly faded. Most people who worship the sun god aren't thinking about 17th century politics anymore. Now they're praying for something much more personal.
And the great thing is, the process is super simple.
You don't even need to go to a temple. You can actually do it right from your own home. You just have to face the sunrise in the east, prepare a few symbolic offerings, and then clearly state your wish for a bright future.
The offerings themselves are packed with meaning. You've got round foods like sweet dumplings or oranges, which represent the sun itself. Pineapples are a big one because their name in Taiwanese Hokkien sounds just like the phrase, prosperity arrives. And people light red candles to, symbolically ignite that brightness and good fortune in their lives.
So what are most people praying for? Well, the biggest one, by far, is a bright future. Things like success in your career, good luck, and just general guidance. Good health is also a huge request, along with protection from bad luck and disaster. It makes sense, right? You're asking this source of immense positive energy to shine on you. So when you put all of these pieces together, the weird myths, the secret history, the modern worship, this incredible picture starts to form.
What looks like just a simple folk tradition, praying to the sun for some good luck, is actually a live-in piece of history. It's a story of rebellion, of fierce loyalty to a fallen dynasty, and of the amazing creativity people use to keep hope alive, all wrapped up in a simple prayer.
And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If a simple prayer to the sun can hide a 400-year-old political secret, what other incredible histories are hiding in the foods we eat, the holidays we celebrate, and the little traditions we take for granted every single day?